But first, with so many questions about election integrity, we want to bring in Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs to talk about this. And thank you for joining us live tonight, Secretary Hobbs. I want to ask you first about a lawsuit just filed today, and apparently it's filed in Maricopa County, alleging that some of these ballots were rejected and that voters were asked to press some sort of green button on the machine. Are you familiar with those kinds of allegations, and what can you say about them?
Well, we're still looking at the lawsuit. I can't speak to the specific allegations, but it seems to be sort of a repackaging of the Sharpiegate lawsuit and really just a delay tactic to stall the official canvass dates. And
the Sharpie lawsuit, which was filed a little bit earlier this week, was dismissed today by a judge in Maricopa County. To your knowledge, do you know of anything in our elections process thus far, either in the initial count or the election day count or any of the counting that has taken place since, that would indicate that there are any irregularities that people should be concerned about?
Absolutely not. Our entire process from start to end, way before Election Day even happens, is very transparent. And there are a lot of records on file in terms of audits that have been done, certifications of the equipment, all of the things that we do with the ballots that anybody could look at. And so I just find these allegations extremely baseless. And what they're doing right now is making it really hard for the election workers to get the job done.
Obviously very close, especially in the presidential race, about 20,000 or so votes separating these two candidates. And as I understand it, roughly 120,000 ballots throughout the state left to count, if that number is still accurate. I know some of these are ballots that have to be cured or signatures need to be verified and that sort of thing. How long can we anticipate before we can say we've counted all the ballots in the state of Arizona?
Well, it'll be at least next week before we can, I know for sure, because some of the cure period for the ballots that are being cured ends on Tuesday. And so some of those ballots might not be able to be counted until after Tuesday. The ballots that are remaining are mostly those ballots that are going to take some time because they require duplication. The overseas and military ballots require duplication. Braille and large print ballots require duplication. They're looking at ballots that the tabulators couldn't read because those need to be duplicated. And then just all of those provisionals that they have to verify if that voter was actually eligible to vote or that it's not a duplicate ballot that somebody voted in the mail and then voted in person. And so those things all take time. And what I can tell you about the outstanding ballots, there are about 45,000 or so provisional ballots. And what we know at the end of the day is that those aren't all going to be counted because they're provisional for a reason, and they're not all going to be eligible ballots. And
so walk us through, because I know people have a lot of questions about some of these processes and how they work there. But for instance, when somebody has a ballot that doesn't go through the machine, there is a process for taking that ballot, setting it aside so that it can be hand counted or counted in another way. You don't throw away any ballots, correct?
Not, absolutely not.
And so when people are counting these ballots, they're not doing so in a dark room somewhere. There are processes in place and laws in place, in fact, that require this, that there are observers from both parties, and there's a agreed to way to settle any disputes over ballots, one that's agreed to by both the Republican and Democratic parties. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And there's actually a camera in that room too. So anyone who wanted to right now could go to Maricopa County Elections website or anyone across the state and find the link for that camera and watch what's going on.
And so do you expect more lawsuits and challenges to these kinds of processes? Give us an idea of just sort of the amount of resources that you have to devote to actually talking about these things and ultimately defending some of them in court.
Yeah, so I've been saying for the last few days that there really is no legal grounds for any challenges to the process because there hasn't been anything nefarious going on. I will continue to say the whole Sharpiegate thing was a baseless conspiracy theory, and I think we're looking at people grasping at straws right now. There have been no irregularities in the process. The process is open and transparent. There are observers. Everything that we're doing is following law and procedure in terms of counting the ballots.
There was some loud complaining today, I think, at least on Twitter, and one of the national media anchors actually complained that Arizona should do something about the speed at which we count ballots, because they say that we went through this in 2018. Talk to us a little bit about that. Every state is counting mail-in ballots, and every state is counting them after Election Day at some point. Is Arizona really taking longer than other states to do this?
No, we're not. I mean, we're well ahead of where we were at counting ballots in 2018. I'm very well experienced with this. If you remember, my race took 10 days to call. We're well ahead of that. Nobody's going to be waiting until next Friday to know if they won their election or not. The fact is that elections are complicated, and there's a lot of parts, and we have a lot of these different kind of ballots now that instead of just being automatically able to feed into the tabulator, there's a lot of manual labor involved in making sure that they're able to be counted. And so really, this is how the process plays out. I'm sorry that some people aren't getting the results as quickly as they want, but we're making sure that every ballot is able to be counted.
Well, certainly one of the reasons that we're seeing more ballots counted is because there are more ballots than there have ever been in a presidential election, and that's a very good thing for the state of Arizona. Turnout's going to hit close to 80%, I think.
I think so too, yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Secretary Hobbs, for joining us and explaining that process. Danielle?